It's Susan at Seaside Stitches, and it's lovely to be back. I do apologise to all my subscribers, but I just didn't manage to get any videos out after June last year. A number of things happened, nothing actually specific, but it became more and more difficult to actually get back to it. I did do quite a bit of sewing, but I just didn't video it, or if I videoed it, I never got around to put it out to you. So anyway, as you can see, I am here and I'm raring to go really, but I've got a bit sidetracked lately by doing bags, and I had some of those videoed, and that's why I put those out. If you've noticed, I put some sew-alongs using by Annie methods to sew bags, but actually in the summer I made some dresses. I love this dress. It is this amazing Simplicity Amazing Fit 2247. No, it wasn't. That's this one. This fabric, I just really loved it when I saw it, and I bought this one and this one together from Fabrics at Fleetwood, and I bought this one. I think I've got a video in May of something about where I was doing this and I couldn't get the fit right. I finally did get the fit right, and then I couldn't finish it because I didn't use the collar kind of facing thing that they wanted, that was suggested, but I didn't bring that pattern in. And in the end I was abandoning it, and I thought, no, I'm going to finish it. So I got it into a good shape. I got the fit right for me. But then I didn't know what to do with this bit because I'd no facing for it. And then I watched something Andrea did on Beyond the Pink Door. And hers had an actual, you just turn it over but you added a tie to it. And I thought, oh, I'll do that. And then I thought, well, if I could do that, I could actually just make an edge to it and join this further up and attach that to the top. So that's what I did. And then I've never added any embellishments such as buttons before, but they just work really, really nicely. It's a really pretty dress. I feel very comfortable in it. We went on holiday just for a week in Dorset in September, and I took all three with me, not thinking the weather would be good enough to wear either of them, but I was determined just to get a photograph of them, because that's been another thing. The weather has been, I know we're in Lancashire in England, so we expect rain, but it was rain after rain after rain. I couldn't take photos of things, and I changed my sewing room twice, and I had a brilliant island sort of set up in the middle, but then we couldn't get to the table because I always had that full of stuff. You know what that's like. And then so I've changed it again just before Christmas, and I've done a bit of a declutter. So when we came back, I noticed that there were some YouTubers who were doing some decluttering. So I looked it up, and Karen at Just Get It Done Quilts was doing this 28-day or just for January, a decluttering setup, sharing most days about what to do next. But a really simplistic, easygoing, just set your timer for 30 minutes. Don't go alpha leather at trying to get everything done in 30 minutes. Just do 30 minutes worth of gentle decluttering or quick decluttering or whatever. And she's given a focus, like for day one, just make sure you take what she calls swatters, everything out of the room that shouldn't be there. So when mugs have piled up and you've not taken them back out to the kitchen, or there are coat hangers about, or there's laundry there that you were going to iron while you had your ironing board up for sewing and that didn't get done, anything that shouldn't actually be in your sewing room. Now, I pretend mine is my sewing room, but it's also my dining room, our dining room. It's our spare bedroom, so if we have visitors, everything has to be rearranged. And what else is it? It's kind of an office for me as well. It used to be my counselling room, but because of COVID, I've had to use a bigger space with a more airy setup. So I use the hallway, which sounds a bit strange, but it's a room that you walk through rather than it just being a long hallway. But the ceiling's high, so you've got a lot of space, and that suited me. And we can also sit a bit further apart than if I was in my dining room, my counselling room, and so that has worked very well. And also I don't have to clear that room and my dining room when I have a client. So I only need to really tidy that room and the bathroom in case they need to use it. So that works quite well too. Anyway, this is just a chat along, and I'm just going to show you what I have made, some of what I have made, and then kind of I'll pop some pictures in. I've got a bit of sunshine today. I may even get out and take have a photo taken of me. But I do love this fabric, and it was so easy to put together and to sew. I did use a walking foot because it is quite stretchy. But I allowed for it to maybe not fit me unless it was a 14. I took all that kind of stuff back. I had to really, I just got it back to it being a straight 12. And that sleeve was just a little bit short for me. Well, it was quite a bit short for me. And so I did my thing where I keep putting a band round now, around the bottom, like I've done on the Harper cardigan. Everything is to do with the Harper cardigan. And it's just very swishy. It's just below my knee length, and I really like it. So that's that. Now this one is what I call my flounce, but wasn't meant to have a flounce. It's the Simplicity S8875. I attempted to make it for my anniversary. I made it in fabric that didn't have any give, and I cut it too small. I did it a straight 12 everywhere, but with no give. It was hopeless. And I could have got away with it as a dress. I put the sleeves in, but then when I pressed the neckline, there was a facing in it, and when I pressed it, because I just overstretched it, so it gaped. So it was just kind of like that, and I really didn't like it. And I've still got it, and I've taken it apart, and I've had a couple of goes at redoing it. Ways I will redo it. And it's on the side, it's in my, people are calling them whips now, aren't they? Work in progress. I think I like that better than unfinished objects. But that's another part of the decluttering that Karen mentions. So you have a day where you sort out things that shouldn't be in your room. You have a day where you put things back in the right place, the place that you've already suggested for them, and then you assess whether that is the right place or not. I found it really therapeutic. I put my timer on for 30 minutes. I found that I wanted to do another 30 minutes, which is fine. But what she's saying is, don't just go at it for 5 hours and then be worn out and then leave it as it is because you can't bear doing any more. I found when I brought things out to put them back where they should be in the other room, I ended up tidying all the drawers in here. And in here brings me back to another reason why I just got all in a kerfuffle about videoing. And that's partly because we had a problem with our furniture. We bought a suite, a big corner sofa. It's on some of my previous videos. And we found out it was faulty in that it started to sag and the fabric went all wrinkly, and we took photos of it, and it became a completely overwhelming issue because the company weren't very interested in helping us, and they just kept trying to fob us off. So in the end, it took over a year, but we started the court process. It's not called a small claims process, but anyway, we started that process, and once they woke up to that, even though I'd sent them endless letters and copies of this and photographs, 11 photographs of all the faults on it, and to the head office, and was getting us nowhere. So once we did that and the official form went from the court to them, suddenly they decided they were going to straighten everything out, and so, but we then had to go through the process of finding another suite or another furniture, and it was sad because we'd really gone into the logistics about how we would manage with that suite. We laid it out the size-wise and everything. We knew that sofa. We knew how it would fit in here. We had the measurements of it. We lived like that for a few weeks because we're weird. And just to make sure it would be okay. And it met all our requirements. I have a condition where I have to put my legs up every so often, and it fit with that, and I didn't need my footstool then, and it was just, had it worked, and the cat loved lying on the back of it, and it had fold-up headrests, and so she had a position at the back, and it just fit for all of us, except that it was just going more and more distressed looking, and that it wasn't a distressed looking sofa that we'd bought. Anyway, it was just a constant reminder all the time that we'd been duped, and when they tried to finally offer us some replacement cushions for it, there was going to be a 14 to 16 week delay, and then they may not have been right, and it was a fixed cushion, so they've had to pull it apart and start again, and I don't want to go on about it, but it's meant that we've had to rearrange everything, find some other furniture, which has been fine, we're happy with it, but we can't leave it like this because it is absolutely wonderfully pluckable for a cat, an ageing cat who has got a bit dementia and doesn't quite know what she's supposed to be doing or isn't doing. So we have it heavily guarded with cloths and with fabric and the quilted covers that I'd made for each headrest. So we have them dotted about, but it looks really scruffy in here because it's just not as it's meant to be. So that's a bit frustrating as well. But anyway, I was going back to this dress, I think. Why was I going on about that? Oh, taking photographs. It's not been easy to have somewhere to video because my room is just dark and dull, and even when I'm sewing, it's difficult to have this wonderful thing. Ooh. But if I've got that on one side, I'm fully on the shade in shade on the other. So I have sent for another light, but I don't want more contraptions because I've no room in my sewing room to get in and out to my sewing machine. Anyway, I was saying I've got involved in doing some bags, but before that, when I last did a video, I was doing a batch cutting session because I was going to do Joey Sew's t-shirt challenge, sew a t-shirt for June challenge, and I think I may have mentioned this one. Oh, so I'm just backtracking to where Karen at Just Get It Done Quilts was saying, so every few days you do a little bit of sewing. If you can find your sewing machine in all the mess, and you cleaned your sewing machine, and you've got it all up and running, and you've got your bobbins and your threads ready, then you can start looking at your works in progress or your unfinished objects. So, but again, don't overwhelm yourself with, oh, now I'll get everything out and start working through everything. Don't work like that. Just do it on an ad hoc basis, but just set yourself, well, I'll have a look at one of my unfinished projects and see whether I want to finish it now, whether I want to finish it ever, or whether I want to finish it by a certain time or whenever. And then you're not cluttering up your mind with, oh, I've got to do that and I've got to do this and I've got to, and then you can't get on to the next thing because you're too mithered about what all the pressure you've got. So one of the things I had realised, because even though I tidied my room several times, this kept being hung up on my shelves. It was actually inside out because it's waiting for it to be overlocked on the inside. It doesn't need to be overlocked as long as I sew it twice on the inside, on the seam allowance. But I realised it wouldn't take me long to finish this, and this was one of the ones I was doing as a kind of challenge to what is a t-shirt. Now, you've said we can sew a t-shirt, but technically this is the top half of a dress, and there is the kind of jumper or top option, and I thought I would like to do that but with shorter sleeves. So I have made the dress. It's the purple dress that I made, and there's a sew along for that. And I thought I really like the fit of it, but I don't want another dress. And also, this would be really nice and fresh as a t-shirt top. So it was, well, is it a top or is it a t-shirt? But anyway, whatever it is, I've decided all I need to do is turn the edge in. Well, it's not quite that simple. I always have the back at the neck always gapes on whatever I make. So I either have to put darts in or keep moving this bit up into the shoulder, like a shoulder adjustment. So I've just got to work out whether I'm going to dart it. It doesn't have to have any facing on it or a band. It's meant to be that you just turn it in and turn it in a little bit, about 1/8 of an inch, you turn it in again, and then you just sew it with a twin needle or however your method of sewing is. And then I've only got the cuffs and the bottom, which is fairly straightforward. So that is on my list now to complete, and I'm looking forward to it because it really fits me nicely, and it just seems, it's quite bright and cheery, isn't it? I think so. So that, I may or may not report back about whether I finished that or not, but anyway. And the other thing I want to do is make this dress again. So I will insert some pictures. I made this dress, and it is so comfortable, and I use it as a pinafore as well, with a jumper underneath. I use it if it's not too cold. I use it just as a dress. It's a lovely dress, and I put the sleeves in that come with it, but I also added the Harper cardigan band, the cuff. I take the pattern from the Harper cardigan and I just make it tighter. And I've got 3 or 4 of these now. I really love it, and all the colours in it I can wear. I've got lots of polo necks. They are my staple, M&S polo necks, which I've kind of fell out with now because they're not the same quality, but I have loads of them. So I've got black in this dress, I've got dark green in this dress, there's red, I've got all the colours, I've got a pink, I've got this kind of shade of lilac as well. So it really doubles up. I always wear it. It's hardly ever just sat in my wardrobe. It's either in the wash, and it gets washed and hung up quickly and dried again. Actually, I don't hang it now because I noticed it started growing. Either I'm shrinking quite a lot more or it started growing. So when I do wash it, I put it over the area and support it a bit more. It's really quite a horrible looking dress on the pattern, I think. But you've got to be able to be aware of what you could make with it and how you could do it. So basically, I made that dress, and I was going to put these sleeves in it and with the cuff. And so, but when I got near the bottom, when I finished it almost, and I was going to hem it, I thought, do you know, it's crying out for a frill. But I didn't want a frill. This is a funny thing because it goes up to the middle of the dress and then it's a split from there. And I don't want that. It's not comfy for me. I would all be covering myself up or having to wear tights. So I decided I went and bought another 1/2 metre. I did the dress out of 2 metres originally. I went and got another 1/2 metre, and then I chopped off, I worked out where I wanted it to be chopped off. So you'll see it on a photograph. It's not, I don't want it long with a frill on the bottom. It just comes about 2, maybe 3 inches below my knee. And so I cut off about up here, and the fabric that I cut off, I matched with the 1/2 metre and joined it together and made a long frill. And then I I attached it back on and hoped that it would be all right, in the right place, and enough gather in it not to look stupid. And it's lovely. I really love it. It swishes here and there, and why I've got this out is this is a bit firmer fabric than the one I've got now. But at the time, I was saying I bought 3 things, and I was thinking it was the red, but it was this one, this one, this one, and this one. Within a few days of each other, really. This is similar. It's a stretch jersey, but it's got quite a bit more stretch, I would say, and it's just got a bit more structure to it. And I've been wondering what to make with it, and now I think I'm either going to make another one of these or another one of these. I'll never make that red one again. I love the dress as I've made it, but it's not me with the raglan sleeves, and it took so much manipulation to get it how I'd like it. I wouldn't touch the pattern again. I'd look for something similar, maybe with that bodice, but I wouldn't want to use that again. So this is just a silly, bright, I think it's quite a bright pattern. So it's got little zebra faces on, lions and tigers. And I do have some black cable knit fabric that I was going to make a 3rd Harper cardigan with. But looking at this today, I'm not sure if it isn't really dark blue. So I'm going to examine that. And I'm also weighing up, do I really want another Harper cardigan? But I really like them. I wear my other 2 all the time. I did the rust coloured one, I just did with a shorter sleeve. And I wear that with this sometimes, with the puffed sleeve hanging out. And the blue one I did isn't the blue that I wanted, so I do wear it, but with like denim blues and things like that. But I would wear it a lot more if it was cobalt blue. So that is a possibility of me getting back to dressmaking. And someone else just walked past them. And then, but I may make that one with it. It may just be simpler. I think it may hold itself very well on that one. It's just, so I don't do the other bits of things, I just do the straightforward. It's just got, they suit me, dresses that are just under the bust and then fitted downwards, yeah. But I like this because it's got, this one has got darts. It's got back darts and front darts, but quite long darts. So I like this one. Anyway, back to what I was talking about in the first place. June became complicated because I'd cut out about 7 things that I was going to make. Probably 5 I would have finished. Just doing the t-shirt challenge. Not for the challenge, but because I realised I've been trying to work out, I don't want to just keep making dresses. I know there's someone on YouTube who's done 95 dresses over the year. I haven't got 95 me's, and so I haven't got 95 days where I would have a different dress on. If I like a dress, I like a dress. I don't have 95 storage spaces for 95 dresses. And I like what I like. I'm very specific about what I like and what suits me. So I was going to just use the kind of impetus to do the ones that I wanted to do with some of the fabric that I had, and that had been my plan. So some of those are shelved and I didn't finish. I made one was a dress that I was going to check whether I'd have it as a top or not. So anyway, but in that month I was asked again about doing a collaboration with someone. Now I've alluded to it but not really gone into any detail before. So what happened was, I'm just going to have a drink. During the first lockdown, a lot of sewists wanted to do something. I'm sure in your area this happened. I know that in Lancashire, someone was approached. Did she want to set up like a Facebook group? But it was you can't call it an organisation, but a setup where people would sew scrubs. So a lot of our nurses and care workers and doctors and just medical professionals who needed to be able to change their scrubs every day or a number of times a day, and not having the laundry facilities now that used to be in the hospitals where people take the uniforms home and put them in the wash. People were worried about putting them in the washing machines and contaminating the washing machines, and how to transport them from their home, from the hospital where they took them off, to their homes. So there were vast numbers of people on YouTube, on Facebook, just on local networks, who were making drawstring bags to put your uniform in, to bring it home, to sling it in the wash and to have that washed. But you wouldn't have to handle that potentially contaminated item directly. So people were doing scrub bags, and then people were finding that they didn't have the turnaround time to get their uniforms back. And so people started making, sewists all over the country, probably all over the world, were making uniforms for people and donating them. So there was some fund somewhere that some people had set up, and also they had donations of fabric. So anyway, I'm going in a long story to tell you that Gillian was the coordinator for it. And Gillian has an art background and has an exhibition background and a filming background. Anyway, she's involved in the kind of costumes, that's it, costumes, and not necessarily making them, but designing them or producing them in some way. And she has another life other than doing that. And she has an artist residency in a local area to me, and she had approached me. We knew each other from something else. So she'd approached me and said she'd seen one of my postings on Facebook of my dress that I'd made, that I'd managed to make out of 3 different things, and I love that dress. That's another one I love. But because that's a little bit smarter, I wear it less, if you know what I mean. So she'd approached me maybe before December, about November 2020. So she'd approached me saying there was an exhibition in Fleetwood for kind of arty things and crafty things, and would I mind if she used my dress in this exhibition? Well, I was made up. It's like, what? Yes, of course you can. And then it became she was going to do something. I thought it was going to be at Blackpool Victoria. She'd said she was going to put on an exhibition in the hospital, and I thought she meant there is a big foyer and some exhibition space, I suppose you could call it, in Blackpool Victoria. And I thought, oh, it's going to be something to kind of lift people's spirits as they have to go into hospital, or the staff or whatever. And it was something like Winter Wonderland or something. So she also asked me, would I collaborate with her if she designed a print for a fabric and had the fabric printed, would I make it up for her? And I was like, what? How on earth could I do this? Anyway, we discussed it by text or whatever, and which pattern I would use, and I could choose the pattern, I could do this and I could do that. But then all that came to a halt again because Christmas lockdown 2020 happened. So then the exhibition was cancelled. Anyway, later on in the year, and she had said she would still like to contact me if I wanted to do something. So that was put on hold. I made some kind of reference to it. Oh, and there's something else I might be doing, but I can't tell you anything yet. Anyway, the yet came. So the yet was in June. She contacted me and said, I have an exhibition arranged. There is only 12 days now, or it's going to start on the 12th or whatever. And I know it's a bit late, but I've collaborated with some people in the community had been given craft boxes, and they had designed certain things, and from those designs she was then creating fabric or wallpaper or items to go into this exhibition. There were other aspects to it, but that's what she'd let me know, and she'd said, I have some that I've sent away to be printed on fabric. Would you still be available to do a collaboration? So I was like, well, yeah. Ooh. And then all my stuff that I'd got ready for the Joey Sews event, I just put to one side, because she brought me the fabric on the Saturday and really ideally wanted it by that Thursday. And I had then to, I don't know how I did it really, but once the fabric came, I've got another video of that, and that's the last time I videoed myself sewing a garment, I think. And then, yes, so I will show that at some point. Some point soon, I hope, or else another year will pass and I won't be doing anything. But when the fabric came, actually it hadn't washed very well. I said, would you be able to wash it first? So she washed it, and then when it arrived, it looked like it had been washed on a boil wash and just left, dried rapidly in a very hot tumble dryer, and it was all as creased as anything. So it actually did take me 2 days of working the method that, again, Karen uses on Just Get It Done quilts. Spraying the fabric, pressing it without steam, spraying the fabric, pressing it without steam, all that, and then doing it with steam when you think you've got it right. But every time you turned your back, it just went like that. Anyway, the fabric itself was very, very... Anyway, I just checked my video while I went out to get some fabric, and I realised that I haven't shown you these. So this, I think, is fabulous. A lady never discusses the size of her fabric stash. How true is that? And very apt. And I rescue fabric trapped in the quilt shop. I'm not a hoarder, I'm a hero. My daughter-in-law just has the eye for just what will appeal to me, and that is wonderful. Anyway, my son last night just sent a message saying, hope you'll be in tomorrow because there's a delivery due. And I thought, that's Sunday. And he said, but don't open it yet, not to be opened yet. My husband will be 75 shortly. And that is like, what? You know, I met him when I was 16. In the April, I met him. Didn't start going out with him till 3 days after I was 17. And we got married when I was 19. And I am 68. And it's just really strange. I just find it weird. You know, he's still a young man to me. It's just dead weird. And every time I wear these kind of dresses, these kind of sleeves, it just takes me right back to that time. Yes. Anyway, so back to June. So I got contacted by Gillian, and she asked me would I make the dress that we'd agreed that I would make the Christmas before that. When I'd decided to use, decided to use a pattern that had princess seams, and it had like a drop waist, 4 panels in the skirt. It's the one that's like my ocelot one that I call it, that I made 6, 7, 8 years ago. It's a really lovely fitted pattern, but because I've had trouble each time making it to be absolutely the best fit for me, I just agreed with her that if it's not for an actual person, I'll just make a straight size 12, and it's just for the exhibition. When the fabric arrived, I realised that if I chopped it into sections, it was going to look really odd, because this is the fabric. I never know if there's a right way up. Yes. So also there is a one-way design, and to chop that into pieces, it would just have looked like, I've no idea what I'm doing, you know. It would just have been a mishmash of shapes and faces. So what I did was just a straightforward, I suppose you might call it a shift dress, but just, I can't explain it, just a kind of fitted dress that just went out a little bit at the bottom, but so that it gave the benefit of the fabric. The fabric does look strange. When you actually see it, it's not as strange as it looks. And it took me, I think, I don't know, several months, even after I'd made it. I hadn't realised that it's just the one block. It is just the one block that is put this way and that way. And it has a diagonal, it has steps. To me, it has steps going diagonally, and that would have been lost. Because even if you're looking at it from a distance and you don't see the faces, the steps, and they would have been disjointed and all over the place. Anyway, eventually I got it sorted. So I did make the dress. I got it made in time. I think I took an extra day. I have a photo of it. I think I've got a photo of it in the exhibition, but I also filmed most of the process. Not all of it, because I didn't have the time really to do that. But then from then, we were then about to go on holiday. We were camping, we went on holiday. We just had a lovely, easy peasy break in the lakes, surrounded by these lovely mountains, just in a valley on a very simple campsite that was part of a farm. And it's just what we needed. And the weather was okay enough. There was still COVID restrictions in place, and that was fine, because it reassured us that people were taking care, we could keep safe. But it just was just what we needed. People said, "Oh, did you go walking in the mountains?" No. Did you go to this place? No. It was just, we had rides around. When I was first going out with my Alan, he did do camping then, and he took me to near Derwentwater, which is next to Keswick, or Keswick is next to Derwentwater, I don't know. But anyway, we had some lovely rides, some lovely memories, we had some lovely reminiscing times, and I did really love that holiday. The problem was my hand had acted up by then. I have mentioned it a few times, but I have a condition, two conditions that are colliding with each other at the moment. I'd had a big flare up in the May, so by the time the end of June, and I'd done this sewing, and I wasn't much use putting up the tent, pulling it down, packing up and things like that. So Alan had the big bulk of sorting all that out, and then we've got a tiny car and just getting everything in, and we'd only took the small tent so that we didn't have massive stuff to do, or massive stuff like when we've gone camping before. Sometimes we have taken a wardrobe with us, and we don't do kind of like basic camping, slide into a tunnel tent. We need a bit of space and a bit of light and a proper cooker and a proper loo I know I'm going on and on. It feels like I need to kind of set the scene of where we are now. Yes, so it was really tiring for him to pack up, and we got the hottest day ever, and it was sweltering, and he was just in this heat and doing all this work, and it was sad, and it kind of spoilt things. But we were only an hour and a half away from home, so quite often we've got that, and then an 11-hour drive, not an 11, a 9-hour drive, or a 5-hour drive, but just to be that close was amazing. And it was an identification of the fact that we both needed a rest. A rest from what? We didn't know really, but we just enjoyed the rest. And by that time, I think we'd got the Etsy shop, but neither of us could be bothered or had the energy to promote it or even update it. It's still there, but there's nothing on it. And we will find some impetus to regenerate that. And in the meantime, we were looking at going to craft fairs and being able to have samples of his work at craft fairs. And so I was making bags, and that's how I got onto. I was just making simple bags, simple Debbie Shaw kind of bags from some of the books that I've got of hers. I think I'd done a couple of those before. And just gathering more momentum on producing things rather than sewing for videoing or whatever I was doing. But I knew at that point I didn't need any more garments, and I didn't want to be sewing garments just to have garments, if you know what I mean. That's when it became something like, oh, I really like that fabric, and I've got a lot of quilting cotton stuff and things to make little bags with, and just to fill a store with, either to do my own shop attached to my YouTube channel, or to do it as craft stalls. We were both market traders, so we know about working on the markets. But again, we don't want to be doing too much heavy, high energy work. Anyway, that's all beside the point. I started to spot other bag makers, and then I spotted the By Annie method, which I find is quite expensive. If you buy all her By Annie mesh, the By Annie elastic, the By Annie zips, there's a lot of outlay, but you can get a lot of value from that outlay by making a number of different bags. And I don't want to go into the bag making thing, but I have put a few videos out now on just making the catch-all caddy bag. I made what they call a peacekeeper, and that's for keeping your pieces in when you're making a project. So I really like that one, and I've made a couple for the children. And then my sewing plans for Christmas got waylaid because I just got stuck on doing sew-alongs for the bags and didn't leave myself enough time or energy to put the things together that I was making for the children. So everything got skewed. And coming back into doing this now and refocusing, I think that's what this purpose is for me now, is to refocus. What do I want to do with my sewing skills that I've now developed into bag making skills? What do I need? What do I not need? Also juggling that with some work that I'm doing. You know, I'm seeing clients again, which had been not on the cards because of all the measures that were in place. So I'm just aware that my finger has started nagging me. I caught it because it lags. It doesn't do what I think it's doing. So I think I've rolled it up, and it hasn't rolled up, and so I just catch it on something, and then it's. Anyway, I think that is quite enough from me. That was another thing. We had trouble with our equipment and our editing, and the computer kind of kicked off big style and wouldn't respond to my editing, so I've lost quite a bit in the process of that. We've now got more newer equipment, and I'm trying to catch up with the backlog, that if I can find the footage that I want to share, really. And I definitely want to share the making of this bag. Obsessed of this. It was quite an honour, you know, to do this, to be asked. It's kind of like, what? And I hadn't been one of the ones who was sewing the scrubs. That's what I'd never said, really. That what Gillian was doing was going around people who'd already done sewing for her or for the community under her organisational banner, that there were lots and lots of wonderful sewing things there. And I was like, but she's asked me. I'm only recently back into sewing. Anyway, it was good. I would never want what the basis of this fabric is, because it's really hard to iron. Then I went to collect it. We'd been asked to go and collect it. Oh, so I also had the blue dress in the exhibition, the blue big floral dress. And we went to collect it, and she said, do you mind if I keep this one for another exhibition? So they were doing a smaller exhibition downstairs. So the exhibition was called Inside Out. It was called Inside Out, which was kind of staying inside, not going out, I think. But there were people who made rocking horses, lots of craft people in the area, had been kind of pulled together to do things. And there was a room that was full of knitted seagulls and sand and just setups for Seaside, which really would have done me, you know, I loved it because I'm Seaside Stitches. And yeah, I'm going to finish now. Thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you for being part of my YouTube family. Thank you for taking an interest, and thank you for all the sewing you're doing for yourselves and for other people. It's amazing. So lots of love, and I'll see you soon. If you do like the video, please give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe, because it does help me reinforce the fact that there are people out there who are watching. Thank you ever so much again. Bye.